So I'm anti-vegan. Let's get that out of the way. Not anti-vegans. Some of you guys are kind and sweet and passionate about the environment, and I get that. I even respect that. But the vegan lifestyle, it's not sustainable for the environment, it's not sustainable for the body, and not even for our hormones, especially as women. I was a vegan for years and a raw food vegan for 2 years. After the fatigue, the nutrient deficiencies, the anemia, the joint pain, I started implementing meat back into my diet. And years later, after my adolescence, I then, after struggling with joint pain for so many years, every single winter would be absolutely brutal for me. And I would be back at square one. Why am I feeling this way when I'm doing everything right by doctors, by naturopaths, by healthy people and healthy eating? I'm eating the greens, I'm eating the superfoods, I'm eating the nuts and the seeds, I'm eating the fruits, the meat, the eggs, everything that is supposedly good for you. I'm eating like a bodybuilder. I'm eating keto. I'm eating vegan. I have done every single lifestyle diet you could possibly think of. Let me know if you guys want a video that goes more into depth about my lifestyle choices up to going to carnivore, because we're going to be talking more about that in the near future, about my arthritis and how I was diagnosed at 2, how I was told that I was going to be blind and in a wheelchair by the age of 19. I'm currently 26 and thriving. So let's continue on with the purpose of what this video is, and it is all about carnivore. Why I went full carnivore, and why to this day, 2.5 years later, I will never go back. At least I think so. I wasn't one of those vegans that ate Oreos and junk food and processed foods and sugar. Actually, I didn't even have sugar. I couldn't have sugar because of my arthritis. I probably didn't have anything, not even fruits, for about like 3 years before I started implementing those back into my diet. I did it right. I supplemented. I did the spirulina, the chia seeds, the maca, the hemp seeds, everything you could possibly think of. My mom studied herbalism. We went to high end doctors, naturopathic doctors, vegan doctors, all sorts of different types of specialized holistic health practitioners. But I was always tired. And then as a teenager, I had really bad cramps. My mild rosacea would just kind of break out on my skin. Right now, I am not wearing any foundation, absolutely none. I had random crashes throughout the day, joint pain so bad that I wouldn't be actually able to keep any job. I'd constantly have to work for myself or work as a freelancer. Even though I prefer it that way, I still was unable to get a part time job as a barista because of the way I was feeling. Couldn't go into offices, couldn't go into event spaces in the long run. A lot of days I would have to call in sick and work from home because of how bad the pain was. So, flashback to about 2020, 2022, which was probably one of the worst years of my life all around when it comes to relationships, health, career, and all sorts of stuff. When my stress gets bad, my arthritis gets bad, and so on and so forth. Since I had tried every single diet, since I have tried every single supplement that you could possibly think of, all of even the pharmaceutical medications, including surgeries, I was like, my mother sent me a video of Makila Peterson a couple of years back about the lion diet. I didn't know the carnivore diet even existed in that community that it existed. I saw her TED talk about her arthritis disappearing and so many things, and I was like, maybe I should give this a try. But then I searched carnivore diet on the internet, and I found Ken Berry, and I found a bunch of different doctors and people who actually had a little bit more variety in the diet when it came to animal foods and supplements and all sorts of stuff like that. You could eat fish, eggs, cheese, dairy, meat, liver, anything you could possibly think of within the animal product range was included. And I was like, well, this is much more my speed and right up my alley. Maybe I could try this, especially since I loved eating eggs as is. I was already eating 4 eggs a day. Currently, now I eat about 6 to 12 eggs a day. and minimum 1 pound of meat per day. Currently, I'm in Bali. As you guys can see, I'm in Canggu. I eat a little differently here than I usually do back home. I will make a separate video if you guys are interested in that. So, in the beginning of Carnivore, my knees were really, really bad. I'm going to insert a picture right here of how it looked like. As you can see, the inflammation was severe. I had veiny knees. At the time, I lost a ton of weight. And then starting Carnivore as well, I lost even more weight because that's usually what happens before your body kind of balances it out. And for the first time in my life, I was actually feeling very insecure about my body and how I looked. I was literally skinny to the bone, but had all of my joints super big, rounded, and inflamed. So I literally looked like a stick with a ball everywhere, every joint in my body. I avoided looking at myself in the mirror for that time being. But I continued to trust the process and continued to eat my meat and my animal products and my eggs, as well as actually trying to not villainize dairy, because I actually had avoided dairy and was drinking oat milk and almond milk, which I thought was healthier for me at the time, to having to switch my shift back and try not to look at it as the bad guy was actually a lot for me. But open mindedness goes a long way. Within 30 days, I already saw a major difference in my body. My inflammation gone down drastically, which usually takes me about 6 months to get to even that point. By the 6 month mark, I already felt the mental clarity, the energy. I could lift heavier at the gym. It's absolutely insane. My body was naturally lean and shredded without having to constantly go to the gym. Usually, with my arthritis, I had to work out anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week in order to keep myself from feeling joint pain. Nowadays, I could exercise 1 to 2 times a week and I'll be perfectly fine without having to continuously exercise because of the way I'm eating, because of all the protein and the fats and the nutrients and the minerals that I'm getting with Carnivore. Not to mention, by the 8 year mark, my inflammation completely disappeared, went back to normal. By the 1 year mark, my skin was absolutely amazing, which is actually the last thing to heal because it's the largest organ of the body. And my libido was skyrocketed. It was already bad as is, meaning that it was already high. And then after this, it just went up. About a year and a half in, my period got regular, which never happened. I didn't have super intense cramps anymore. Nowadays, I have sometimes the mild cramping here and there, especially if I travel by air and all of that stuff. But I feel absolutely amazing and I don't feel drained on my period anymore. I don't have any pain and inflammation unless I stress myself out or go through a tragic breakup of some sort. Now I don't have any gas, any pain, any bloating, no farting, none of that stuff, unless I eat outside of the diet. And if I have a couple of things, which I have experimented with, again, I'll make a video just with that because that's a lot of information. But 2 years and a half, and I don't have scurvy. Actually, my gingivitis disappeared. My teeth got whiter. I am constantly told that now I look like I'm thriving. I look more muscular. Look at that. I'm not even flexing. 2 years and a half, and I still feel amazing, which is saying a lot. Here is what most vegans don't realize: bioavailability. Your plants only get absorbed 5 to 30% in the body. It has to go through the small intestine, then go through the large intestine, and most of it gets pooped out. Now, a lot of vegans would argue saying just eat more plants. The problem with that is plants have toxins that our body can't fully digest and absorb. Oxalates breaks down the mineral absorption in the body. And so many other types of things happen with this, not just oxalates. I could list them on the screen for you. All of these toxins in the long run cause bloating, inflammation, joint pain, autoimmune diseases, kidney stones. Remember, these things are not normal, they are normalized. While animal protein gets absorbed 90 to 100% in the body, going through the small intestine and hardly ever through the large. That is why carnivores tend to have less waste. As for people talking about scurvy, clearly nothing is wrong with my teeth. And as for people talking about clogged arteries, if you actually search what clogged arteries are, they do not come from meat. They come from smoking, they come from drinking, they come from sedentary lifestyles, they come from poor sleep. Those things actually caused clogged arteries, not fats from animal protein. That's actually the best part of the diet. There are so many things that you actually cannot get from just eating a vegan diet, such as B12, heme iron, real vitamin A, or cholesterol, which is literally your brain function. Without cholesterol, our brains don't think. We do not behave. We do not have the mental capacity to actually fully absorb any real information, to actually work efficiently, to actually think efficiently. These things are essential for hormone, for fertility, and for brain health. And many vegan women, this isn't me just making it up, completely lose their cycle, have their cramps worsen, and their fertility dips. You're telling me that these are normal? Saturated fats and cholesterol are key aminos to help build hormones. Plant based diet, especially low fat ones, tank your sex drive and tank your hormones, including your estrogen and your testosterone. And let's not ignore the big factor. Let's call this a conspiracy theory, even though you can easily search this up. Kellogg's, yes, the guy who created cornflakes, was a part of the Seven-Day Adventist movement. He pushed bland plant based foods to suppress sexual urges. And his family ironically funds the many vegan processed foods that you see available today. It was never about your health, it was about keeping you suppressed. So, where am I at now? Nowadays, I eat meat, bone broth, eggs, dairy, tallow, bacon, so many wonderful, rich animal foods. Being here in Bali, oysters, seafood. I occasionally now implement some seasonal fruits, but it's not really necessary. It's just for taste when I need it, or cycling during my period, which I made an entire video about that you guys could check out. I sometimes have some fermented things like fermented pickles or kimchi or sauerkraut, and occasionally have some potatoes, sweet potatoes, pumpkins, yams, and regular potatoes or whatever is available. Again, not because I need them, but if I'm out at a restaurant or something and want a little extra something something, sometimes I don't mind having a few bites. It's not like I'm loading up on french fries and loading up on these foods. I'm primarily always eating meat and stick to that and actually feel best when I am strict carnivore. And because I'm human, sometimes I have my matcha, and because I'm human, instead of coffee, now I drink matcha. Occasionally, when I want a little sweet, I'll have chocolate. And on very special occasions, I will either make cheesecake or get cheesecake, just like my birthday that just passed. And I had a passion fruit cheesecake, which was great. And I shared a slice with my partner. And when I say strict, it means that I'm thriving. I don't see this as limiting. What I see as limiting is not being able to move. It's having cramps. It's not being fertile. Is feeling insecure in your own skin because your body is not how you'd like it to be, because your skin is breaking out, because you have bloating and a stomach and extra fat, because you have illnesses and autoimmune illnesses that don't just affect you but also affect your partner who has to take care of you. You don't want to feel like a burden. You want to be thriving. You want to be a superhero. And this is the closest thing to being superhuman that there is. Now, I am saying carnivore is for everyone. The only reason it wouldn't be for you is if you can't stick to it, because you want the variety. And I get that. Not everyone is made to be following such a strict protocol and diet, but I don't even see it as a diet. I see it as a lifestyle. The way I feel is priceless. I'd rather be feeling like this every single day than struggle. So if you're struggling, let this be a reminder for you. If you're struggling, if you have excess weight, if you have fatigue, if you have bloating, if you have low libido, if you have irregular periods, if you have autoimmune illnesses, if you have kidney stones, if you suffer from regular yeast infections, if you have hormonal imbalances, if you have anemia, if you have Hashimoto's, if you have cancer, if you have fibromyalgia, you could name it. There are success stories out there when it comes to carnivore. And maybe your joint pain at 25 is not your age. Maybe your joint pain at 40 or 50 is not your age. It's not wear and tear from all the years you spent being active or sedentary. Maybe it is your diet. Riddle me this. Why is it that you see even vegan influencers that swore by vegan are now leaving the movement years later and implementing meat back into their diets, such as Daniel Vitalis and even David Wolf? Why is it that you see so many vegans being carnivores, but no carnivores being vegan? Mic drop. And remember, stay happy, healthy, and horny. Dirty Carnivora out.